Do you want to know how to discipline a teenager for bad grades? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about bad grades. It is very important that when you are discussing grades or any other performance discussion that you have with your children, that you take a very effective approach to this discussion. So in this video, we are going to be talking about what not to do, the things that are not going to be effective, and we are going to talk about what to do in order to take that effective approach so that you can hopefully both get on the same page with getting those grades up. In 2010, I was invited to go to China to talk to parents about behaviors with their children. And of course, in China, grades are very, very important just because the way that their structure is set up. And they wanted to know how to help their children get good grades and to do better in school. And of course, they wanted me to teach certain skills, certain self-government skills, like how to follow instructions, accept no answers, accept consequences, and those types of things. But one thing that I felt like I needed to tell them first, especially since their emphasis was so heavily focused on the grades during some of the conversations that I was having, was you have to have a good relationship with your child for them to actually care about getting their grades up for you. And that's really for any behavior. If you want your child to fix a troubling behavior, we really got to go back to the relationship first. If you are constantly just hounding your child and it's check off list, and you didn't do good enough here and you didn't do good enough here, then the relationship soon becomes very sterile. It's not a relationship. You're a taskmaster, that's how they see you. Maybe you don't see yourself that way. Maybe you're lovingly trying to help them through all these hard things, but if that's how they see you, then that's their relationship to you. They will have a disconnect. They won't feel motivated to make the changes you really want them to, and they'll probably even start to think of themselves as a failure, maybe even get into some other more drastic behaviors because they'll feel like they're not turning out right and they can't please you. So making sure that you stay calm and that you focus on your relationship is the number one most important thing. If we can be really serious here about grades, I know that everyone thinks that they matter, but they are a comparison tool. They are an accountability tool. That is really all they are. We think of them as the tool to get into the university or maybe to get a certain job. Although I don't think grades usually ever relate to a job. I think it's just the degree that we maybe got at the university, and everyone knows C's get degrees, right? We know that it's not really the grade, it's the performance. Did you actually finish your goal? That's what gets the job. So why are we so worried about the grades? Because I think we sometimes take them too personally. We should not try to live through our children and take their behaviors personally. If they are struggling in school, that could be a sign that it's not a fit for them. It could be a sign they need some other approach. Maybe they need a mentor or a tutor, or maybe they need to even be homeschooled because the social is too distracting for them. Who knows what they might need? There are a lot of options out there, and I have multiple videos on this channel about education and educational options. So, feel free to poke around there as well. Your child needs to know that you are working together on the education and that it's really about the learning and the education. It's not really about the marks, okay? Have you ever read that little book, You Are Special, by Max Lucado? So You Are Special, where they put the little stars and the little dots on the little wooden people, and the people with dots are always like, oh, I'm not a good wooden person. I have a lot of dots. And the people with stars are like, I'm an amazing wooden person because I can do all of these amazing things. Basically, that same process happens with your children and grades at the school. It's a place where they just compare with each other. That's all it really is. They're there for an education. They're there to develop a relationship with the knowledge and to try to take pieces of it so that they can become a better person. They're not there to compare themselves with other people. Competition actually destroys the learning environment. It puts added pressure, which decreases the ability to learn. So keep that in mind. If you are wanting your child to apply themselves more to school, maybe just to show up, maybe just to turn things in, that's different. okay, than comparing them on the work that they're doing with other people. First thing I would say is get more involved. Let them know that you're there to help and support, no matter the age. I took in foster children into my home for many years. Those children struggled with academics. And so I would sit down with them after school. We would work through their academics. Then I found out there was one foster daughter I had who was amazing at her academics, but she never turned them in because she was afraid of looking smart to all of the other kids at school. She had this idea in her head that looking smart was a bad thing, and so she stopped turning it in. So we had to then work through that part of the process. That was a social lesson that she needed to learn, and she needed to see that it was actually okay to be a person who turned in their work, and that really her friends probably didn't pay that much attention to it. No matter what the problem is, whether it's I really am struggling with the academics, or I'm struggling socially, or I'm just struggling with my own motivation, there are things that you can do to help your child achieve better marks at school. But again, please don't think that the marks are what is the very most important. So I teach self-government, which is all about bringing things into the light, honestly and deliberately discussing problems and finding solutions to those problems in a way where each person takes ownership or responsibility for their own behaviors. If your child is going to follow through on their homework, they might have to learn how to give themselves no answers for distractions and instructions for how to follow through. So it's going to be important for them to understand the self-government concepts of how to follow instructions and how to accept no answers, as well as how to accept consequences if the grades go good or bad, and how to disagree appropriately with the teacher or with you if they need help or need to have some conversations about problems they might be having with their academics. So teaching the 4 basic skills of self-government is going to be a really great starting place. And that's going to help you in all of your communications at home. So if you are new to teaching self-government, and this is one of the first videos that you're seeing, if I could please draw your attention to the end of this video, I'm going to be pointing you toward another video which will help you learn more of those basic nuts and bolts of self-government. So remember, we need to bring things into the light, right? This means that we need to have good conversations. Step number 1 for having a good conversation is don't take the other person's behavior personally and don't judge them for it. Come into the conversation thinking, I want to understand and I want to help. I am not going to take anybody else's behavior personally. Now, hopefully they can come to the conversation with the same mindset, but depending on your past communications about grades or anything else for that matter, they might not know if they can trust your tone or your behavior during an intimate conversation. So what I would recommend is having a parent counseling session. Now, I talk about how to do a parent counseling session in my Teaching Self-Government training materials, which you can find on my website, teachingselfgovernment.com. It's a 14-step process, so I'm not going to go into that right now. But I will say that it is an opportunity to have a conversation about one item, only one, that you are trying to create a plan for and problem solve with your child. At the very beginning of the parent counseling session, just to make sure that the child isn't misreading into the relationship, I would probably say something like, hey, let's have a conversation. Maybe you're driving down the road or something. I would say, hey, I want to talk to you about something, but before I do, I want you to know that I have handled talks in the past in a really bad way. Sometimes I've taken things too personally, I've gotten too emotional, maybe I've even focused on blaming you for things. This is not one of those conversations. In fact, I am really hoping this is going to be one of those really great conversations that lets me know how I can help you. That should hopefully break the ice. Then get into your parent counseling session where you discuss the situation that's occurring and the plans that you're going to create for the future and help bring in their input, making sure that you truly understand what's going on. So now that you've figured out why it is that they are not having a good experience with their academics at school or they're not having good grades, now you can truly understand and make that plan for them for the future. What types of things might you plan? Well, I'll tell you what not to do. What you don't do is you don't set goals and then nag. Or if they don't accomplish their goals, shame, compare them to other people, or start to get emotional when you thought the plan would work and it didn't. Many people resort to bribery. This is also a very bad idea. There are some positive consequences that motivate students, and that is something that we can keep in mind. But they should be hopefully wanting to have a learning experience at school. Hopefully you can help them get on board with that more than just trying to get $100 at the time the report card comes out. So what should we do? We should have a meaningful conversation, a parent counseling conversation, set goals for the future, and then if they do accomplish some of those goals, even taking any steps toward those goals, like turning in the assignments, even if they don't get good grades on the assignments, if they're doing them with you and turning them in, all the positives are there. The praise, the hey, you're doing everything you need to. This is awesome. You are showing responsibility. You give them the praise that they need to learn that cause and effect, even if the grade isn't there yet. Then, if you have determined that there are certain steps they need to take, such as turning in the assignments on time, spending a certain amount of time doing homework in the evenings, whatever it is that you feel like is going to be the recipe for success for them in just doing the effort of education, then if they don't do those things, you would need to do a correction. I talk about how to do a correction in my next video, which is called How to Discipline a Child. So go to that video and then you'll be able to follow the steps for a correction there and hopefully get the rest of the piece of the puzzle for how to fix this grades problem.